In 1957, a young boy named Jason Voorhees, who attended Camp Crystal Lake. That summer, while the camp counselors were in the cabins doing their own thing, Jason was alone in the lake. The only problem was that Jason couldn't swim. The young boy drowned that day, hardly making anybody or anyone cared. Jason's mother, Paloma Voorhees, on the other hand, carried a great deal. She tried to murder all the camp counselors in order to prevent the camp from ever opening again. However, Paloma met her end when she was killed by one of the camp counselors, but everyone was safe again. Until a few years later, when Jason rose from his watery grave and began to murder everyone he could in the area. He had been stopped for the most part, but sometimes out of nowhere, the murders just keep happening again. In New Jersey, at Camp Crystal Lake, there were about 11 people outside the cabin sitting by the campfire, talking amongst each other, roasting hot dogs, marshmallows, and laughing. They were already in their late tweens or early 20s. They did have there was a checking out the camp. They knew that new camp counselors they were going to be for the summer. One of the teens, Johnny, stood up. He was tall, average weight, with long, curled, dark, dirty blonde hair, wearing a white plaited t-shirt over the Ramones t-shirt. Everyone stopped talking as he rose the beer ball in the air and he began to speak. "All right, next week we're going to be open for business," he said. All of them cheered, and some held up their drinks in agreement. "No, but seriously, this camp has been closed and open 5 times?" Johnny continued. He and the others laughed. It was obvious and none one had believed in those stories. All because people believed that one guy. "What's his name?" Johnny asked. A girl named Heather, who was Johnny's girlfriend, spoke out. "Jason Voorhees," she said. "That's right, babe. Jason Voorhees," Johnny said, pointing towards Heather. "Did you all know that this kid drowned there back in 57? Some camp counselors whispered stuff like, "Oh geez," or "Dang." Johnny nodded his head. "Yeah," he said, taking a sip of his beer. "Poor little Jason died here, all because of some camp counselors were paying no attention. And guess what? He came back to life." A few of the camp counselors giggled, while others looked in curiosity. And every time he starts killing the kid in the area, running around with a hockey mask and carrying a machete," Johnny continued. "So next week when the kids get here, we'll make sure to tell them that if they see him, they should come see me." The camp counselors laughed again. A boy named Wayne stood up, looking very angered. He was a rather large boy, tall and muscular, with dark short hair. "Oh, shut up," he shouted. Everyone just stopped laughing and looked at him as if he was crazy. "You guys are all a bunch of idiots, you know that?" he added. "Don't you understand? By talking about Jason, you're going to bring him back. That's how it always starts. The story gets out, and then all of a sudden people get murdered." The others looked at Wayne, who could actually be thinking that Jason guy was for real. Wait a minute, Wayne. Are you saying you believe in that stupid legend?" Johnny asked. "It's not a legend, dog. Alright, it's true," Wayne answered. A girl named Tawny began to speak out. "What do you mean? You've seen him?" she asked. "Well, no, but I know he's out there," Wayne hesitated to say. "Yeah, along with Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny," Tawny mocked. The camp counselors laughed again, humiliating Wayne. Johnny walked over and stood next to him. "Yeah, you know what? I think maybe Wayne's right," he said. One of the camp counselors named Justin got up from his seat and slowly snuck up behind Wayne. "I think Jason is out there," Johnny said, making Wayne feel nervous. Johnny then looked behind Wayne's shoulder and started to fake a scared face. "What is that?" Wayne said, frightened. Johnny pointed his finger behind Wayne's shoulder. "Behind you," he shouted. Suddenly Justin snuck up behind Wayne and grabbed his shoulder, and Wayne jumped and turned around, just to see that it was just Justin. While everyone else was finding this amusing and funny, Wayne was not impressed. Justin and Johnny high-fived each other like a couple of kids. "You're such jerks," Wayne said. "Oh, come on, Wayne. Learn to take a joke," Johnny said, laughing. "You'll be sorry," Wayne added, looking around at the other camp counselors. "You will all be sorry." He walked away from the campfire and walked towards his cabin. He gave everyone a final deft look before going in. Taking Wayne's statement lightly, Johnny turned around to the camp counselors and bowed. "And that, my ladies and gentlemen, is called an overreaction," he said. The camp counselors laughed again as Justin and Johnny went back to their seats. Johnny sat down beside Heather. "Wow, you're lucky he didn't kick your ass," she said. "The gentle giant? No way, the guy would never hurt anybody. He's too soft," Johnny protested. Heffernan leaned in closer to Johnny and stared at him. What? He asked. Do you really think he believes in that Jason guy? Hever said. Nah, Wayne's just screwing with us. Like, what if the murders do start happening again? Don't worry, I'll be here to protect you. He leaned in and kissed her softly on the lips. She smiled at him and made a silly giggle. You're drunk, she said. Yeah, a little bit, Johnny laughed lightly. So, when are your friends supposed to be getting here? He said first thing in the morning, and if you're scared, you can make sure there's nothing weird happens. Johnny noticed Hever looking worried, and she needed some reassurance. Don't worry, Hever. They're just legends, remember? What could happen? A few hours later, when everyone was in their cabins asleep, a dark figure stood into the chilly light, holding a machete. He walked over to one of the cabins and quietly opened the door and stepped inside. In bed, two camp counselors were cuddled to each other as they slept. A dark figure slammed the door shut, waking both two counselors. What the hell? The boy said in alarmed. He looked over the lights and flipped the lamp on. The girls screamed in horror at what they saw. A drenched, dirty-looking man in dark clothes wearing a hockey mask was Jason Voorhees. As Jason stepped closer to the bed, the girl got up and ran past him out of the room. The boy just sat there, staring in fear at the figure. Without even saying a word, Jason plunged a knife deep in the boy's body. The boy shrieked as Jason ripped the blade out. The boy continued groaning in pain and did his best to keep himself from bleeding out. But he fell off the bed and began to bleed to death. Jason then turned around and headed back outside to find the girl. Somewhere in the woods, the girl ran farther and farther away until she couldn't run anymore. She started to hide behind a tree. While panting heavily from the running, she calmed down herself a little and looked around the place, and taking deep breaths as she studied her surroundings. After a few seconds later, her heart finally stopped pounding. She wanted to know if the coast was clear, so she turned around from a tree to make sure no one was there, but suddenly she saw Jason running towards her. She screamed as Jason swung a machete like a baseball bat. She killed her as the blade collided with the tree. Along the bumpy roads of New Jersey, the van that we all recognized was Mystery Machine drove nearer and further down the forest parts of town. In the van was, of course, the gang: Fred Jones, Thelma Dinkley, Daphne Blake, Shaggy Rogers, and Scooby-Doo. Hey, we're almost there. Just a few more miles and it's hello, Camp Crystal Lake, Fred said as he drove. I can't wait to get in the water, Daphne added. Studying the plant life there will be fascinating too. I'll have to give it some material work on my own novel, Thelma said. What novel? Daphne asked. Oh, I don't have all the details yet, but the main idea is about a bunch of plants come to life, Thelma explained. Why, that sounds real interesting, Velma. But, really, can't we, find a burger joint or something? Scoob and I are starved, Shaggy said. Rah! Starved, Scooby barked. The two of them were sitting at the back, as usual, playing a game of Go Fish. Starved? Didn't you guys finish off those 2 blockbuster pizzas we picked up about an hour ago? Fred asked. Yeah, I was saving the last piece for when we got to the lake. But what's gonna time you over till then? Shaggy clucked. Got any freeze? Scooby asked Shaggy. Go fish, Shaggy replied. Okay. Instead of picking up the card, Scooby reached over to the pizza box and grabbed the last piece and shoved it into his mouth. Hey, that was mine, Shaggy moaned. Scooby laughed and so did the others. Don't worry, Shaggy. There'll be plenty of burgers and hot dogs at the camp, Velma said. So what's the big deal with this place? I've heard some pretty weird stories, Daphne added. It's nothing to be worried about. There's just this dumb legend about some guy named Jason Voorhees coming back to life ever so often and murders the camp counselors, Velma said. Scooby and Shaggy froze. What? Shaggy asked. Rah! What? Scooby said. Did you say, murder? Shaggy gulped. You'll be fine, Shaggy. I went up there last week with my pal Johnny, and we had the police search for everything, so there's no Jason Voorhees. It's just a crazy ghost story, Fred reassured him. Well, okay, Shaggy said, calming down. Scooby did as well. Oh, look, we're here, Fred said. As they stopped at the old, dirty, creepy-looking sign that read, Welcome to Camp Crystal Lake, Shaggy shuddered at the sight of the sign. Camp Crystal Lake? Like for a welcome sign that doesn't look too welcoming, he said, shivering. Shaggy, calm down. It's just a sign, Daphne said. Fred drove through the woods and followed along the road. The looks of the trees that made Shaggy and Scooby feel uneasy. They just sat there staring at the trees, shaking and hugging each other. "This place is very spooky," Velma said. As the car drove through the woods, it started to look much darker and more sinister. It was even the far that the trees that shared Scooby and Shaggy fears in the first place. "Look, there's the cabins," Fred exclaimed, noticing the wooden houses. Fred also waved at the other teenagers outside, barbecuing. The mystery machine made a right and pulled the stop in next to one of the cabins. All the camp counselors were laughing, playing, and just having a good time. "Hey, maybe this won't be so bad after all, Scoob," Shaggy said, calming down. "Rhea!" Scooby smiled. Noticing that the gang had arrived, Johnny walked up to the mystery machine as Fred rolled down his window. "Freddy, what's going on, man?" Johnny smiled, shaking Fred's hand. "Hey, buddy," Fred said. The gang got out of the car and grabbed their luggage. "Johnny, meet Daphne Blake, Velma Dinkley, Shaggy Rogers, and our dog, Scooby-Doo," Fred introduced. "It's nice to meet you guys," Johnny said. "You too," Daphne smiled. "So you all ready for next week?" Fred asked. "Yeah, we're all good here. We can expect about 20 kids around this time," Johnny said. "Sounds like it's going to be a pretty busy summer." "Oh, tell me about it, dude. It's a good thing you guys said you'd help out." "Oh, it's no problem," said Daphne. "We haven't babysat in forever," added Velma. "All right, you guys want me to show you to your cabins?" Johnny asked. "Sure, thanks," Fred replied. "Right. First, let me introduce you to the other guys," Johnny said. As they walked around, they saw two guys arm wrestling on one of the tables. "Guys, this is Justin and Tom," Johnny said. Justin was a semi-muscular guy with short, red, curly hair. Tom was a muscled, dirty blonde guy with glasses. "How's it going?" Justin asked, taking his concentration off of arm wrestling. Tom took this opportunity and slammed Justin's arm down, knocking over his drink that was next to him. "Dude, you cheated," Justin complained. "Hey, you snooze, you lose," Tom snarked. "Fred and Daphne, you'll be sharing a cabin with these guys," Johnny said. "Fabulous," Daphne said sarcastically. As they moved along, they noticed at the other table, with the big guy from last night, keeping to himself. He looked upset and annoyed, and obviously still mad about what happened the previous evening. "Like, what's his deal?" Shaggy asked. "Oh, Wayne? I don't know. He's got a little lost upstairs," Johnny said, pointing to his head. "Don't bother talking to him." The two other girls, soaking wet in their bathing suits, laughed as they ran back up to the camp. "Hey, Johnny, your friends are here?" one of the girls asked, panting. Yeah, you guys. This is Tawny and Ellen," Johnny said. "Hi," Tawny said. She had dark brown hair and bright blue eyes, while Ellen had plain brown hair, nice body, and hazel eyes. "It's nice to meet you," Velma said. "Have you guys seen Clark anywhere?" Johnny asked the girls. "Yeah, he was over at the battling cages last time I saw him," Ellen answered. "Hey, do you girls want to play some volleyball later?" Tawny asked Daphne and Velma. "Yeah, sure," Daphne smiled. "Velma, do you mind sharing a room with Tawny and Ellen?" Johnny asked. "No, not at all. Sounds fun," Velma answered. "Mike, what about me and Scoob?" Shaggy asked. "Oh yeah, that's right. You know something. You guys were supposed to share a cabin with Ed and Sam," Johnny said. "Oh, what happened?" Fred asked. "No idea. This morning I went to check on them and they were nowhere to be found." "Do you think they left?" Daphne asked. "Looks about that way," Johnny said. "But why would they want to leave?" Velma asked. "I bet it's because of Wayne. He's made big fuss over about Jason Voorhees. I guess they believed him, so it looks like Shaggy and Scooby get their own cabin," Johnny said. "Okay, we're cool with that. Scoob?" Shaggy said. "Rhea!" Scooby barked. All of a sudden, the aroma of food caught Shaggy's eye. Something sure smells good, Johnny," he said. Scooby-Doo sniffed the air too. "Rhea!" he said. "Oh yeah, Janie's over there barbecuing. Help yourselves if you want," Johnny said. "Why, you don't have to tell me twice," Shaggy said. They all walked over to the grill where they saw two girls cooking. One of the girls was Heather. Johnny walked over to her and gave her a hug from behind. "Hey you," he said. "Hey," she smiled, turning her head, giving him a kiss. "What you cooking?" Johnny asked. "Hamburgers, hot dogs, ribs, steak, you name it," Heather said. All of the talk about food was making Shaggy and Scooby's mouths water. "How's it going, Janie?" Heather asked. "Great," Janie said. She turned around and Shaggy was memorized. She was beautiful. She had nice dark brown hair with a hint of red in it, stunning green eyes, and a beautiful body. "Why, hi," Shaggy said, his eyes going all droopy. Hi, I'm Janie. She smiled, holding out her hand. Shaggy, he said, shaking her hand. And this is my pal, Scooby-Doo. Hello, baby, Scooby and Doo said in a very tempting voice. Janie giggled. Oh my god, he's just the cutest thing ever, she said, patting the dog. Rah, Shaggy agreed, just staring at her. Johnny and the others started to take notice of this. You alright, dude? Johnny asked. What? Yeah, I'm good, Shaggy said, snapping out of it. So do you want me to show you all around the camp? Johnny asked. Yeah, that'd be great, Fred said. You want to go, Shaggy? No thanks. Scoob and I will just stay here and talk with Janie, Shaggy answered. Alright, we'll be back in about a half an hour, Velma said. No problem, Shaggy said, never taking his eyes off of Janie. As they walked away with Fred, Heather, and Johnny, Velma and Daphne shared a laugh at Shaggy's expense. You guys ready for summer? Janie asked Shaggy. Like, yeah. We can't wait for things to get started. Right, Scoob? He answered. Rah! Can't wait, Scooby agreed. Long drive down here, huh? Janie asked. Not long, just about 5 hours, Shaggy said. Wow, you boys must be really hungry. Starving, actually. Do you mind if we... Oh, no, not at all. Dig in. Cool. And with that said, Shaggy and Scooby grabbed some plates and piled everything from ribs to burgers to corn on the cob onto them. In the woods, Fred, Daphne, and Velma walked with Johnny and Heather as they showed them around. You know, there's something beautiful about these woods, and at the same time completely creepy, Daphne said. Yeah, lots of kids get that vibe, Johnny said. I assume that it's because there's not many murders took place, Velma said. Hey guys, this is about far and the kids should be able to go, so let them know that if they want to come out here, Johnny said. No problem, Fred said. Hey Johnny, I was wondering if you know any exotic plant life that might be in the woods, Velma said. Not really. All the plants look the same to me, Johnny added. Well, maybe I'll find some new specimen on my own. Yeah, you never know. Velma looked around the trees and all the plants until she noticed something particularly interesting. She walked over to a certain tree and reluctantly deep sliced across from it, as if it had been struck by a sword. Below the cut was a dark red mark there. It almost looked like a blood stain. Jinkies, she said softly. What is wrong, Velma? Fred asked, walking over. Take a look at this, Fred, Velma said. What is it? It almost looks like blood. Blood, Johnny said, as he, Heather, and Daphne walked over. Whoa, I wonder what happened here, Heather asked. I don't know, Velma said. Do you think suppose it could be blood, Velma? Fred asked. I'm not sure. If I had a lab, I could analyze this to be sure, Velma answered. Come on, it's not blood. I mean, why would it be? Johnny asked. I don't know. I mean, you did say Ed and Sam disappeared. Yeah, they did, all because they couldn't handle that Wayne was talking about. Do you really think something happened to them? They just took off. Johnny's right. Let's not worry about that, guys. We're here to have fun, not to solve another mystery, Daphne suggested. Yeah, I guess you're right, Fred said. Maybe it's just a part of this tree rotting, Velma guessed. Come on, let's head back to camp, Johnny said. As they all turned to go, Velma gave the tree one final glance before heading off with the others.